Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast. Hello, hello, hello. How the heck is everyone doing tonight? Today, this morning, this afternoon, whenever you are watching, shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in to the OddCast, where stuff that's odd gets the nod. All right, so tonight we got some great subjects. We're going to be talking TV and movies, show recommendations, a profile on JK Simmons, and the rise and subsequent fall of the mockumentary. Then we're going to move on to science, space, and technology. Not so much space tonight, but we got Orca Whales. We got the world's leading producer in electric vehicles. We got a self-automated farm in Ohio. We have a Canadian-based company setting up a robot brothel in Houston with sex dolls. And, we have Tesla doing a self-automated driving system. So got some interesting subjects there. Food and beer, we're going to talk briefly about sour IPAs, and then we're going to talk about some secret in-and-out items that even Californians may not know. So it's going to be a good one. We're going to finish it off with sports, talk briefly about UFC 229. We're going to break it down a little more with Cody Warden, Coach Cody James in the next episode, but we're going to talk briefly about UFC 229, Ryder Cup, and the negatives of a 1-16 NBA playoff system. So that's if the East and West didn't exist in regards to playoff seeding. Then finally finish it up with some financial stuff. We're going to talk how to diversify with buying not only stocks, but other kind of, commodities, ETFs as we talked last time. And then we're going to finish it off with discussing Elon Musk stepping down as chairman of the board of Tesla. So, first of all, beer of the day. Blood Magic. It's a sour IPA because we're talking sour IPAs. From Pure Project Brewing Company in San Diego, California. It's a really great beer. It's a sour, it's a double IPA as a matter of fact. I believe it's 8% alcohol content, and if you really see when it pours, it's really red in hue. Just pretty beautiful color. 8.5%, and it's made with blood orange, hibiscus, and lactose. So if you're lactose intolerant, you might have to stay away. From their website, they, describe it as a multi-dimensional sensory experience with a fine, tuned balance of tartness and sweetness. Deeply red in color, as I said, with a huge nose from the robust addition of biodynamic, orange, organic blood orange from La Vigne Organics in Fallbrook, California. Smooth, tart, and refreshing. I would honestly say that those notes are pretty on point. Usually that people try to big up their things, but cheers, guys. Pure Project Brewing. If you're ever in San Diego, I would highly recommend checking them out. They're awesome, and people there are cool as hell. They do me and my buddies right every time when we roll in there. So, on to the first subject, television and movies. Okay, my first recommendation for you is a show that just came on Amazon Prime. It's called Forever. It's starring Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph, as well as Catherine Keener, Noah Robbins, and Nancy Lenihan. It's created by Alan Yang and Matt Hubbard. It's basically a story. It's one that I don't want to give away, but it's kind of trippy in the sense that it's this couple that lives a very ordinary life, very, very, mundane, but in a way, it worked for them. But in the same sense, they were bored by it. They take the same vacation to this lake house every year. They decide to go skiing one year. Something crazy happens at the end of the first episode that basically changes the dynamic of the whole series. It's really non-conventional. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's really cool. Both Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph kill it.
The music is cool. The cinematography is great. So Forever. It just came out this year, 2018. It's on Amazon Prime. The second one is Gravity Falls. That ran from 2015 to 2016. This is a cartoon, but it's really not a kid's show. I mean, you know, kids could watch it, and I would highly recommend having kids watch it. But it's the sense of humor is completely adult in nature. This is created by Alex Hirsch, and he also voices in it too, along with Jason Ritter, JK Simmons, TJ Miller, Christian Shaw, Linda Cardellini. So that's, you know, pretty powerhouse crew right there. The series involves, you know, basically two twins, Dipper and Mabel Pines, getting kicked out of their parents' house for the summer and getting essentially exiled to have to stay with their great uncle Stan in Gravity Falls, Oregon, which is a town where all this weird shit goes down. It's basically, you know, supernatural creatures, weird occurrences, all this fucking shit. And great uncle Stan, Grunkle Stan, they ended up calling him affectionately, owns a tourist trap called the Mystery Shack, where he basically sells customers on the crazy shit that happens in the town. It's really cool. Again, I don't want to give too much away. I would highly recommend it. It came out on Disney XD, but you can find it on any of those streaming sites like Putlocker. So let's talk JK Simmons. JK Simmons was born in 1955 in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. His mother was a middle school music teacher, and his father was an administrator. But at 18, he moved to Montana, where his father became the head of the music department at the University of Montana. So he graduated from Montana having been part of the musically oriented fraternity there, at which point he joined the Seattle Repertory Theater. Now, J.K. Simmons actually started on Broadway, or off Broadway, but then made his way onto Broadway. And I did not know that. I found that very interesting. In 1987, he was in an off-Broadway production. And in 1992, he played Benny South Street in a revival of Guys and Dolls. In 1994, he sang multiple roles in a kind of satiric opera called Les Barbecue, or Das Barbecue, excuse me. And then he was in a revival of Carousel with the Houston Grand Opera. In film and TV, of course, his breakthrough role was in the prison drama on HBO Oz as Vernon Schillinger. He was a neo-Nazi who was locked up. He was also Dr. Emil Scott on 3 out of 4 reiterations of Law and Order. You know, he was in Homicide: Life on the Street. Of course, he's the J. Jonah Jameson in 3 reiterations of Spider-Man as the editor of the Daily Bugle. Mac McGruff in the 2007 film Juno. You know, he's in Burn After Reading, Arrested Development. You know, and then of course, you know, the 2014 film alongside Miles Teller as Terrence Fletcher in Whiplash, the hard-nosed, rugged drum and music teacher at the the Schaefer Conservatory of Music, which is a fake school in New York. But he's fucking magnetic in that role. I mean, that is a fabulous performance. I don't give a shit. He won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor that year. And I mean, I've talked how awards in sports are bullshit. I think awards in films are bullshit a lot of the time, but they nailed that one that time. I mean, that fucking performance is insane. I mean, he fucking kills it. So he's done a lot of voice work too. That's what people also forget, as well as the prior Broadway work that people don't even know about. People forget his voice work. He was in a 2012 Nickelodeon series, and he was in a 2015-16 series called Gravity Falls, which I recommended earlier. So check that out. J.K. Simmons voices a really cool character in that. Does an excellent job. Super professional. He's just a G. And And he's done voices in Kung Fu Panda 3, Zootopia, Simpsons, The Avengers, and then he's in video games even. He's the anti-communist president in Command and Conquer 3. He's in the 2011 huge hit Portal 2 as I believe the creator of Aperture Science, Cave Johnson, which a role that he redoes in 2015 Lego Worlds. And then of course he's Professor Nathaniel Burke at Farmers University from Farmers Insurance. And not only that, he's been the voice of the yellow M&M in the M&M commercials since I believe it's the late 90s. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't mind it at all. He's been the voice of the yellow M&M, though, for a damn long while. All right, so let's talk about the rise of the mockumentary. So in a time when basically those laugh track sitcoms were getting a little burnt out for audiences, they weren't getting the ratings they wanted. Major networks were looking for a new avenue to entertain fans. Of course, they always are. I mean, that goes without saying. And it gave rise to stuff like The Office, Parks and Rec, and Modern Family. I mean, those are the three most obvious of the mockumentary style. But so a decade has passed since that original laugh track entertainment really hit its piece. So let's go through the history of the mockumentary first. Now, like many things, it actually began with a Monty Python skit. Frankly, I'm a huge fan of comedy. I don't know. This could be blasphemous to you guys. I don't really find Monty Python that damn funny. I don't. I've worked my way through some shit of it. I find Mel Brooks more funny of the old school comedy. I find, just of people who made movies. But hey, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think differently. He did a skit called, in Monty Python's Flying Circus, he did a skit called The Funniest Joke in the World. It was a mockumentary style skit in which they discussed a joke that was so funny that if you heard it, you would die from laughter, right? That's an interesting premise. Now, it was with Monty Python and Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks did another mockumentary 10 years later called A Real Life, and it was a mockumentary that was making fun of a PBS series. What really broke mockumentaries into the fold, though, was 1984 Spinal Tap. Basically kind of the 1984 version of Popstar with Andy Samberg, in my opinion. But that is really what, it wasn't a huge commercial success at the time, but it did become a cult classic. Absolutely. This is Spinal Tap. Again, came out in 94. Rob Reiner, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, and Christopher Guest. Now, remember the name Christopher Guest because his name becomes synonymous with mockumentaries moving forward. And all of that cast, not only Christopher Guest, went on to have success in their own right. It's just that Christopher Guest's success was in the mockumentary platform. So that's what's the interesting thing about him. In the late 90s, he wrote Christopher Guest wrote Waiting for Guffman, mockumentary style series, movie about a local acting group that was producing a musical. It cost about $4 million to make and only gained $37,000 in its first weekend. Huge flop. Wasn't received well by critics or audiences. Luckily, Guest stuck with it, and in 2000 he came out with the film, which was on Netflix for a while, I believe, called Best in Show, mockumentary, again about high-end dog shows. And that film grossed a total of $20 million, and it got 10 times what Waiting for Guffman did in its opening weekend. So, hello, operator. Anyway, moving forward, there was definitely other mockumentaries coming out at the time. This is a big one. Curb Your Enthusiasm was starting in 2001. Right, so in 2001, Larry David was going around to networks pitching this idea of them following him around and basically doing stand-up, because he started out as a stand-up comedian, basically failed. He would, when people wouldn't laugh at his jokes, he'd get fuck you and walk off the stage. But anyway, that became Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is a kind of mockumentary-esque style thing. You know, you could disagree with me. I think it is. Then back to Christopher Guest. He came out with a movie in 2003 called A Mighty Wind, which was another documentary or mockumentary style movie that was met with both critical and audience acclaim. It did really well. Other mockumentaries at the time that were coming up, you had Reno 911, which was the Comedy Central teaming up with the comedy troupe called The State. And then you had mockumentary turned series Trailer Park Boys up in Canada. And then, of course, in 2005, BBC was running Ricky Gervais's The Office in England. So this basically proved that viewers were ready to take on the mockumentary style format. You know, Hollywood saw that it was going to be successful. And in true Hollywood fashion, what did they start with first? A remake. We talked about this last time, folks. Remakes are prevalent still. The stats might be going down, but the marketing is much higher. The Office. So, again, in typical Hollywood fashion, The Office was the first major release of a mockumentary on a major U.S. network. Look to the BBC's platform to woo American crowds. But, you know, that's what the crazy part was. The mockumentaries were not limited to a small screen. 2006, Sacha Baron Cohen came out with Borat. That made about, I think it was $261 million worldwide. Hello, operator. You know, and then Parks and Rec got greenlit by NBC a couple seasons in The Office. ABC, I believe it was, then came out with Modern Family. And, you know, between the three, Office ran 9 seasons, Parks and Rec ran 7 seasons. Modern Family is still fucking going strong, I believe. But ultimately, when I looked it up, when I did my research for this, there was 184 award wins between the 3 shows and like 651 nominations. So, well done. The thing is, mockumentaries lately have been not as successful. ABC tried to do a mockumentary about the Muppets. It got canceled after 1 season. Documentaries Now, which is a show that I actually really do like personally, got it's still on, but the ratings aren't there. The viewership isn't there. It's with Bill Hader and Fred Armisen. It's really good. Documentaries Now. I would recommend it. Popstar Never Stop Stopping with Andy Samberg and company, the SNL alum, took a $10 million bath at the box office. Again, that's one that I like. It should be noted, too, that Documentaries Now and Popstar both have cult followings, similar to 1984's This Is Spinal Tap, again, which wasn't famous in its time, but now is kind of credited as the pop culture's avenue into mockumentaries. And then Mascots, which is a Christopher Guest mockumentary about mascots. It got a 51% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm not saying that Rotten Tomatoes is the holy grail of the bullshit but all of his mockumentaries before had gotten a minimum of 88 on Rotten Tomatoes. So basically the conclusion in regards to mockumentaries, though, is that, like, you know, audiences change, their wants and desires change. Basically right now we're going through these high production, glossy, kind of like politically, culturally, racially driven, you know, storylines, and it's really cool. I feel like, especially with television, we're getting stuff that almost is like theater production, and really has these gnarly, you know, storylines and trends behind them. So I think that's really cool. You know, whether it's shows like Mad Men or Breaking Bad, again, both really high production shows that talked about, you know, really interesting stuff, really kind of groundbreaking topics, or it's HBO's Girls. Transparent was popping for a while. And then, you got those, the unsentimental, raw. Oh, that was a terrible throw. You got those unsentimental, raw kind of stuff. Audiences no longer want to see that deadpan kind of what they feel is the bullshit of mockumentaries, in my opinion. And you know what? Current television's gotten weirder. It's gotten more political, and weirder in a good way. More political. You have like the complex, layered comedies like Atlanta, or Better Things, on FX, I believe. And then you have Netflix's Master of None. They're both thriving on cultural levels, really. I would say, and basically the state of broadcast TV is now sharper, more finished, and more refined. It's a good thing. All right, guys, on to science, space. Not so much space tonight, and technology.
Science, space, and technology.
So, let's talk about orca whales. Here's an odd one. Not many people know much about orca whales. So, they're a toothed whale, and they're the largest member of the oceanic dolphin family. They have a diverse diet, and their diet basically depends on which type of orca whale there is. I didn't even know there was different types of orca whales. I thought one orca whale is an orca whale. That's it. They're apex predators. Most people know this. That means they're at the top of the food chain. Nothing preys on them. They're thugging out. They're also what's called a cosmopolitan species, which means that they live basically everywhere in the world. And they do, from the Arctic to the Antarctic Sea, to tropical oceans. They literally live everywhere, other than the Baltic and the Black Sea. That's the only place they haven't been sighted. So they're highly social. Every single type of orca, the three main types that we're going to talk about, they roll in groups, pods, as you call them, almost like dolphins. They use, sonar similar to bats to transmit. So that means they use they do their and it bounces off something and they get it back and they can relay what the distance is somehow. And wild killer whales are really not a threat to humans, but watch that documentary Blackfish and you'll think a different way. That's not a wild killer whale though. So what the fuck did you think was going to happen? So there's 3 to 5 types of killer whales, but there's 3 main ones that could be classified basically as different races, species, or subspecies, which is a pretty big deal, obviously. There's residents, there's transients, and there's offshore. And they're basically just what they sound. Residents live in one place year-round. They mainly feed on fish and sometimes squid. They're the most observed of the 3 types. Those are the residents. These are the ones that really kind of travel in pods. They're in British Columbia and Washington. They kind of have that family structure. They're very family oriented. Transients are a bit different. The diets of these whales are almost exclusively marine mammals. So, some mammal on mammal crime going on with the transient community of killer whales. Transients generally travel in smaller groups, so smaller pods, 2 to 6, and those groups are hunting groups, right? So they vocalize in less variable and less complex ways. They roam widely along the West Coast, from Alaska to California. Recently, I actually saw a video. These guys were seen off the coast of Russia, observed by Russian scientists or biologists, marine biologists, taking down a minke whale. It was a group of, about 5 or 6 of them, and what they did is they grouped together over the minke whale. So if this is the minke whale, all the killer whales were above it like this, and they grouped together and pushed it down so it could not. Whales are mammals. It couldn't get air. it was not able to get air. And the second that the thing slowed down as a result of the lack of oxygen, they took that thing out. And what's cool about it is that the scientists who were doing it, the marine biologists in Russia who were observing the whale, the transient orcas, actually got vocalization, pre and post kill of the minke that is going to really help them study how these guys and gals, these whales, talk to each other. And it's some of the most legit data that we've ever got in regards to transient orca whales. Ultimately, transients do live in the same areas, but they avoid each other. So anyway, on to offshores. Again, offshore orcas, just like it sounds like, they live offshore. Imagine that. They were discovered in 1988 by a guy who was looking for humpback whales. So that's kind of freaking funny. I mean, ultimately, they do have, these guys kind of roll in larger groups. 20 to 75 orcas in a group. Fuck that. I mean, and they've been observed in groups as large as 200. Imagine you're fucking swimming along, scuba diving, or whatever the fuck. 200 orca whales? I mean, shit. I'm scared of a lot of shit. I'm a bit of a... I'm scared of spiders, heights, planes. But 200 orcas? Fuck, I'll take being on a plane with spiders over 200 orcas swimming at me fast. Anyway, so... There's 3 other types that have been observed in the Arctic, but they're kind of a subtype of one of the 3 we just discussed. So you can look those up. The life cycle, females reach maturity at age 10, with peak maturity at age 20, and they can actually, breed until age 40 with the typical lifespan of 50 years old. Whereas males, their peak breeding age is 21. They reach maturity at 15, and their lifespan is only 29 years old. So that's another one that sounds a little similar to human beings in an odd way. The population is really uncertain, but we know there's no less than 50,000 worldwide. 25,000 in the Antarctic, 8,500 in the tropical Pacific, 2,500 in the cooler Northeast Pacific, about 1,000 to 1,200 in Norway, and then about 2,300 in Japan. So that's interesting. So let's talk about the biggest, pusher of electric vehicles in the world. His name is Wan Gang. It's not Elon Musk. Wangang. He's a Chinese gentleman. He's really making a push, and has been for the past 20 years, of having China leapfrog the West in terms of electric vehicle production, manufacturing, and consumption in terms of the retail market. He advocated using government money 20 years ago to provide subsidies to producers and manufacturers of electric vehicles at a time where it was really an untested market. He became the Minister of Science and Technology in China without ever joining the Communist Party. Think about that for a couple seconds. This guy rose to basically the highest governmental position within his country without joining the Communist Party. I mean, you don't have to know a shitload about Chinese politics to understand that that's a feat within itself. Without him, it's my opinion that China will surpass the West in terms of electric vehicle production. If not, they already have. He's 66 now, Wan Gang. He stepped down from his position as the Minister of Science and Technology, and he works at a think tank in kind of a representational position. He doesn't really give interviews. So basically, this year, China's production of electric vehicles is expected to reach 1 million. So that means 1 million vehicles, a 26% increase from last year. So let's briefly talk about Wan Gang's history. He's a child of the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s, and if you don't know what that is, it was China's great leap backward in terms of science and technology. Look up the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s. It was when anyone who had any intellect was basically punished by the Mao government. Pretty fucked up. However, he was one of the lucky few. So first of all, at 16, he got by his parents got shipped off to a town close to the North Korean border, where he rebuilt the town's energy grid and fixed their gas guzzling tractor that kind of did all the agricultural stuff for the town. And this was at 16 years old. He was one of the lucky few to go to college, and he studied in Germany. He got a PhD in mechanical engineering. And he graduated in 1991, and obviously at that point, offers were fucking on the table. BMW, Mercedes, Audi. Audi was a lesser known one at the time, and Wan Gang thought that as being a lesser known company at the time, that he could rise up quicker within Audi. So he took the Audi job. He was an executive in Audi's planning department. He was the role of an ambassador, so he would bring Chinese delegates who were interested in possibly, consulting with Audi mechanics and developers to see how China's decrepit car market could improve. And it was decrepit at the time. Moving forward, one of the guests that he had at Audi was Zhu Lilan, who was then China's Minister of Science and Technology, a position that Wan Gang would later attain. So months after their first meeting in Audi in 2000, Wan Gang was actually presenting something in front of the state council in China, and among those in attendance was Zhu Lilan, the Minister of Science and Technology at the time. He was basically arguing, China was stuck in this smog. Automakers could never keep up with the Japanese, the Germans, and the Americans in terms of traditional car production, non-electric vehicles, basically. And so he said that it was basically a safe bet to bet on technology that was going to be big over the next 10 to 20 years, rather than what was popping right then. By 2007, so we're skipping forward a little bit, but obviously he was still making moves within that time. But by 2007, he was the Minister of Science and Technology in China, and he had millions of yuan, which is the currency in China, to throw at industries and companies that he thought were beneficial in regards to the development of the electric vehicle market in China. So he was giving government subsidies, government tax breaks to all these great companies that were basically, China's been choking on smog for a while. I mean, I was in China for, about 2-3 weeks for a vacation when I was in freshman or sophomore year of high school. And we went to Xi'an, where they have the statues of the soldiers, and I shit you not, there was something that was called an inversion, where all the pollution gets caught within the atmosphere, and our plane couldn't fly out back to Beijing. We had to sit in the airport. We almost had to stay another night because the pollution was so bad that planes could not fly. All right, but anyway, by the spring of 2010, Wan Gang had also challenged automakers when he became the Minister of Science and Technology, to build electric buses for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, put 1,000 battery operated cars on the road in every major city. And then by 2010, he was giving up to $10,000 subsidies for every electric car sold from companies. again, he articulated the strategic window of 10 to 20 years, really, where China could leapfrog the West. A few months later, in 2010, he was in the U.S. laboratory that produced the Volt. And the U.S. scientists were all skeptical that he was kind of fishing for stuff. You know, the relationship between U.S. and China is always contentious in regards to stuff like that. I mean, who knows? But anyway, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Chamberlain was, who was the head of the laboratory, the kind of the guys behind the Nissan Volt? Fuck, I forgot what it is. I hate to say it. They were very wary of Wan Gang until they spoke to him. When they spoke to him, they said it was just like engineer to engineer. We were not scared of him fishing for anything. And they even said, if he was fishing, I wouldn't have known it. Bottom line today, as a result of... and also, at this point, there was a gentleman by the name of Makoto Yoshida, who's a government affairs official from Nissan Motor Company in Japan. He said that Wan Gang is their most important client within China. As a result, today in China, there are more than 100 Chinese-made electric car models on the market, built by companies like BYD Company, backed by Warren Buffett. Hello. And startups like NIO, which I believe a month ago, or this month, IPO'd and raised over $1 billion. And Wang Chuan Fu, who's the billionaire founder of BYD, basically said that he was just impressed by Wan Gang's obsession with clean technology and kind of electric technology. Now, electric vehicles account for about 1 of every 20 passenger cars purchased in China, numbers that are going to rise because of state incentives. So basically, state incentives mean that the government is strong-arming people into buying electric cars. Not only are they building a vast network of charging stations, but in China, I don't know if any of you guys know this, just as a background, when you get a car, you actually have to enter a lottery to get a license plate because there's so much overpopulation, overpollution there that's one of their governmental, resolutions in order to combat the overpopulation and the overpollution. When you get an electric car, you don't have to enter that lottery. You get a license plate no matter what. So that is some strong-arm governmental tactics. But hey, it's not the worst one I've ever heard. And then also, starting next year, every automaker that wants to operate within the Chinese market has to meet certain standards of electric vehicle production. So ultimately what that means is like what Chamberlain said, the US guy from Volta Energy, he said it's good because even if, look, this is not a political statement, even if Trump goes crazy, and I'm not trying to make a political statement, even if he goes crazy, and ends up, alleviating regulations on car manufacturers in the US, China is not going to do that. And also what that means is if you want to operate in China, whether you're Hyundai, whether you're Honda, whether you're Lexus, whether you're GM, you're going to have to meet those same regulations that Chinese auto manufacturers are going to have to meet. So it's going to be beneficial for our environment. All right, so onto the Tesla self-driving system. This is going to be a brief one. Elon Musk sent out an email that was obtained by Bloomberg in which he said that 100 to 200 employees would be able to, if they purchased a Tesla, be able to get the free self-driving package that would normally cost $5,000 to $10,000 on the open market. The catch is that he wants those 100 to 200 employees to give 300 to 400 hours of feedback on the self-driving system. So there's going to be something that tests it within it. Now, this is pretty interesting. It's not an employee perk because not every employee can obtain it. But, if you were going to buy a Tesla and working there anyways, it might be an interesting thing to save $5,000 or $10,000. So just let's do a little tiny background on the Tesla self-driving technology. In 2016, they announced that all cars were going to come with what was called self-driving hardware, which owners could switch on if they wanted. It was going to be called Level 5 autonomy. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it scares the shit out of me. I don't know why. I'm going to drive my own fucking car. What's next? You're going to have shoes that walk you to a certain place. It's just a little crazy. If we have a vast network of stuff that's set up, getting on an airplane is scary enough for me. So a lot has happened since 2016 with the announcement of the Level 5 autonomy. Tesla were working with a company called Mobileye, which was a company that was working on the sensors that would help self-driving technology. But they left working with Tesla and Mobileye after concerns about safety. Musk also announced on Twitter that the automaker would start enabling some of its full self-driving technologies in August with what was called Autopilot version 9, but the upgrade isn't available for everyone yet. It's really not quite clear at this point whether Tesla's Level 5 autonomous driving system will be fully out, but what this indicates of giving the employees this kind of beta testing thing is that it's not quite ready to hit the open market. So anyway, next subject. The first fully automated farm is going to start popping in Ohio. This is pretty damn cool, guys. It's going to use renewable energy, very little water, artificial intelligence, robotics, just basically this cool hydroponic system that's going to run 365 days a year with no interruptions. It's going to use 95% less water than a normal farm. It's by a company called 80 Acres Farms. And basically, they're going to have grow centers for herbs and for other kind of produce. And they're going to supply them to multiple distributors and multiple grocers within the area. They're going to construct it in 3 phases, but it's going to end up being 150,000 square feet of what's called it's CEA, which is Controlled Environmental Agriculture. Mike Zelkind, who's the co-founder and CEO of 80 Acres Farms, basically said that it's going to be able to produce the produce much faster than a normal farm, or even in a normal greenhouse environment, because they're able to actually push the plant when it needs to be pushed by doing stuff like increasing the CO2 levels that go into the plant. And basically you can deliberately stress the plant to grow faster in a healthy way, or you can de-stress the plant to have it slow down if it's not, vice versa, basically. Ultimately, it's going to be in Hamilton, which is right outside of Cincinnati. It's going to grow microgreens like kale, herbs, and it's going to give them to markets like Whole Foods markets, Jungle Gyms, Dorothy Lane's markets, US Food, and many others. The ultimate thing is it's going to use a closed loop hydroponic delivery system, energy efficient LED lights, again 95% less water than a conventional farm. And ultimately the conclusory point of this is that what 80 Acres Farms is trying to do is really, this is a proof of concept, this farm. What they want to do is they want to have people kind of buying into this around not only the country but around the world, and because it's really sustainable, it's really going to be an interesting way of growing produce. And they're even saying that the flavor is going to be better for the reasons that I was describing earlier in regards to stressing the plant when it needs to be stressed, de-stressing it when it needs to not have as much stress on it, adding the proper nutrients, no pesticides, and just the robotic, systematic precision of having robots and artificial intelligence running a farm. It could be really cool moving forward. Finally, in science, space, and technology, not so much space again, mayor speaks out against a robot brothel setting up in Houston. There's a Canadian-based company called Kinky S-Dolls that is trying to set up a robot brothel in Houston. They have one that opened in 2017 in Toronto, I believe. And the mayor is not having any fucking part of it. Basically, if you look up what kinky S dolls do, is they have lifelike robots that are warm to the touch and can talk to you, and they're available for sale or rent, folks. So there you go. Yeah, that's not something I'm willing to even slightly promote. Nope, don't do that. Don't go into that dark hole, folks. Don't, I just can't say anything about robot sex that would be positive. All right. But, however, the thing is, the mayor of the city, Sylvester Turner, said that he's not trying to be the moral police. And anytime anyone says, I'm not trying to be this, but, no offense, but, I'm not trying to be the moral police, but, yes, you are. He said we need to be mindful of what comes into our city and what our children see. Look, that's a fucking bit of ridiculousness. It's not about what the children see. It's about if they clean those fucking disgusting robots after the, mouth breather before you has fucked it. That's the thing that I'm more scared about. He's trying to basically, the Mayor Turner's trying to get it on ordinance issues or zoning issues. However, the thing is, he's running into a wall because they're not humans, they're robots, so they're regulated in a different manner. It's kind of fucking hilarious. In terms of more policy specifics, he said that Houston officials are reviewing the proposed robot brothel has to be located like a certain amount of feet or miles away from schools, churches, community centers, daycare centers, and okay, that makes sense. I mean, obviously you can do that. The thing about it is there's, people now who are like doing petitions on like that fucking change.org. First of all, that is an oxymoronic site. Change.org or change.com, whatever. None of those have ever changed. I'm sure some of them have, but I guarantee you if you look in the percentage of those petitions on there that have actually done something, it would be de minimis. Anyway, so Elijah Rising wrote in a petition that basically, long story short, that this was going to lead to more exploitation of females in the sex industry and child prostitution and sex trafficking. That's a fucking stupid argument. You can argue about the cleanliness of these things. You can't fucking tell me. If anything, the fact that you're offering fucking robots to freaks who would normally, I don't mean to call anyone a freak, whatever you're into, but yeah, you're a little odd if you're fucking a robot. But if you're offering a way out for people who would normally not get any to actually get some in their own mind, they're going to be less likely to use actual women in terms of the exploitation of sex. Now, that argument is so tenuous to me that robots and a robot brothel can increase the exploitation of child sex workers. That is such a bad argument. That's like saying like a dildo leads to like the exploitation of young males because it's like that's a representation of their dick. That's fucking stupid. Cleanliness within sex brothels, that's what you have to worry about. Anyway, let's move on to the conclusion of this. Annie McAdams, who is a Houston-based attorney, represented sex traffic victims, said that she's concerned that it will dehumanize sexual activity and objectify women. Again, it's going to dehumanize sexual activity. Of course it will. That's the nature of having sex with a robot, is the dehumanization of whatever. If your robot's doing the vacuuming for you, is that robot dehumanizing vacuuming? I mean, yeah, technically, but it's not a problem. That's what the fuck is happening moving forward. Does it objectify women? Does a dildo objectify men? Again, I don't know. I don't see that. She says that the thing is the city might not be able to stop the business from opening. Any of the current laws that apply to what we call sexually oriented businesses don't apply to robots, she said, which I brought up earlier. But, however, she said, moving forward, the Texas state legislature might regulate because they do love to regulate sex in Texas. All right, that's it. Let's move on to food and beer.
Let's talk about the food and beer now.
All right. So sour IPAs. I'm drinking one right now. It's basically exactly what you would think it is. We talked sour beers last time. It's a fresh new category. It's like a newborn fucking baby, man. These fucking brewers should be leaping all over this, trying to get, their footprint on it. The thing about sour brews is when you marry two disparate flavors, the bitter and sour, playing up those fruity qualities, trying to create something unique, it can go one of two ways. Now, at best, it's going to be making the beer brighter. It's going to be making it more complex. It's going to be making it unique and refreshing. But at worst, it's going to be flat, tasteless, no complexity to it. Really just a shit beer. That's the one thing. And I think this started with the dry hop sour wild ales, which were popularized in I believe, both in Southern California and Colorado. But the style of sour beer is really coming into its own with kettle souring. Again, that's kettle souring is just an easier version of souring. We talked about it last time, where you use a sour mash, and it speeds up the process of souring a beer. So here's some examples of sour beers that you could try. Almanac Simcoe Sour, Lagunitas Saint Sally, Wicked Weed Amorous Sour IPA, Pure Project Blood Magic Sour IPA, if you're in the San Diego area. New Belgium Hop Tart, Victory Wild Devil. I would recommend them all. Sour IPAs. I would really highly recommend them. Okay, so let's talk about the secrets of the In-N-Out menu that even some Californians might not know. First, we got the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is an interesting one. It's kind of like In-N-Out's version of the Double Down, which was KFC's version of a triple bypass. The Flying Dutchman in In-N-Out is basically, for me, the most interesting meal on the secret menu. It's 2 patties sandwiched around a slice of cheese. You can get a whole grilled onion in it. You can get pickles on top. No bun, no lettuce, no tomato, no fucking around. It's the shit. It has its own unique taste, and you really wouldn't think it would, but it does. I get that, like, you can get it with animal fries thrown on top, and it's the only way you can build the legendary 100 by 100 burger at In-N-Out. And who wouldn't want to do that? Jeez. Imagine that doo-doo after taking 100 by 100 down. And then, obviously, the next tip I have for people is chopped chilies. You can get chopped chilies within your burger. You can get chopped chilies on your animal fries. And those are those chili peppers that you can get inside of In-N-Out or in the little to-go box. And you can get those sliced up and put in your burger. Again, chopped chilies. The final one is you can get your bun mustard grilled. So that means they'll throw some mustard down on the grill and then grill your bun on it. Tastes really fucking good, folks. I would highly recommend it. Flying Dutchman, chopped chilies, mustard grill bun. All right, so let's move on to sports.
Let's talk about sports.
All right, so we talked about the MLB postseason preview. You could check the Instagram for that. I got the NL right. I fucked up on the AL. I watch more NL baseball than AL baseball because I'm a Padres fan. It is what it is, folks. Brewers, Dodgers tied up at 1 game apiece. Boston actually got the loss tonight in game 1 against the Astros. It's going to be interesting moving forward. So, first of all, we do have to bring up UFC 229, right? So, I just want to basically talk briefly about 3 fights. Obviously, ending in the McGregor Nurmagomedov fight. The first one I want to talk about is the Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov fight. Now, this is interesting. Again, I'm going to be breaking these down with my main man, Cody Ward, and in the next episode, much more, Coach Cody James. So, I'm not going to say too much, but Derek Lewis knocked out Alexander Volkov after basically losing the whole fight in, the last round of the fight, and then got the knockout with 10 seconds to go. With an overhand haymaker, a right overhand haymaker, that he was basically looking for the entire fight, and I thought he was an idiot for looking for it. Subsequent to the fight, he improves to 21-5, winning 9 out of the last 10 fights. He's in UFC 230 already, fighting Daniel Cormier. That's fucking wild. He's a fucking animal for doing that. I believe his name is the Black Beast. He's proving that nickname to be very, very on point by accepting a fight a month after going the distance, almost the distance, minus 10 seconds against Volkov. His balls were hot. Hilarious comment. Trump told him to knock out the Russian motherfucker. I mean, this guy is made for pay-per-view. Made for pay-per-view. Derek Lewis, I wish him nothing but the best moving forward. I didn't know shit about him, but, again, to be going for that haymaker the entire fight and to boldly get it with 10 seconds left, you're a G. Ferguson-Pettis fight was a fucking dog fight. Blood everywhere. Ferguson's a G. Pettis is the consummate performer, consummate pay-per-view guy who you just love on the ticket because he's just a warrior. Ferguson-Khabib moving forward. Think about that fight. Ferguson could give Khabib a run for his money. Khabib a run for his money. Khabib Nurmagomedov would probably beat Ferguson for me, Tony Ferguson, but Tony Ferguson's a fucking warrior. He's an animal. He's a good fighter. He's a technical fighter. He's a powerful fighter. And then finally, we got to, Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. It happened exactly the way I said it was going to happen. He wrestled the shit out of him. He bullied the shit out of him. Khabib bullied the shit out of Conor and kind of made him look for what he was to me. Conor's a brilliant stand-up guy, an insanely good striker. But look, credit has to be given where credit is due. People talked about the fact that Khabib's resume was not that phenomenal. Okay, they continue to say that now after he's beat this guy. I mean, he made Conor look like a mug. Straight up. It was not even close. There was a space of like a minute within the third round where Khabib looked on his feet, where Conor actually got his motion. Then Khabib kind of started. It was done. It was done before it begun. Say what you want, say what you will. That was domination within the octagon. And frankly, look, Khabib hopped over and went at Conor's crew. Totally inappropriate. He tried to kick one of his trainers, Dylan Dennis. But look, they were talking shit about Khabib's religion. They said he was backwards. They were talking about his father. Conor tried to offer him alcohol in a press conference, knowing that he's Muslim and doesn't drink. I mean, dude, that's fucking insulting. I'm not gonna go to bat and say, like, look, I'm not even gonna get into the religious aspect of what I believe or don't believe. If someone believes devoutly in religion and you try to punk them on that, you know exactly what you're doing, right? And I think there is a genuine line of the trash talking, and Conor's trash talking usually benefits him. It makes his opponents kind of scared. That's why Jose Aldo got knocked the fuck out, because he just makes people see red. I mean, he makes people so pissed that they like lose their ability to fight with their game plan. It make Khabib even more focused. And long story short, Conor also, we talked about this in a prior episode. Conor attacked Khabib's bus through a freaking metal fence and metal dolly through the window, injured someone's eye. So Khabib should receive the exact same punishment that Conor did from that, which is nothing, nada. Anyway, ultimately 3 members of Khabib's camp got arrested. They've since been released on bond or bail, whatever you have. But One of the guys, Zubaira, who's a good friend of Habib, I believe a training partner, they're threatening to kick him out of the UFC, and Habib said that if you kick him out, you kick me out. That's going to be fucking wild moving forward. All right, so let's do a quick Ryder Cup recap. I'm sorry, I went a little too in-depth on that, but it was an exciting fight, folks. So for the 6th straight time, Europe won the Ryder Cup on its home soil. They won 17.5 to 10.5. Francesco Molinari locked up the clinching point against Phil Mickelson when Mickelson on the 16th hole hit his tee shot into the water. The Americans remain winless on European soil since 1993. Europeans have now won 7 of the last 9 events dating back to 2002. Molinari became the first ever European Ryder Cup player to go 5-0 in a Ryder Cup. As the seniors of the U.S. team, Phil and Tiger, go a collective of 0-6. That's 0 wins, 6 losses, 0 draws. Sergio Garcia is now the all-time leader in Ryder Cup's points at 25.5, while Phil Mickelson is now the all-time leader at matches lost in the Ryder Cup with 22. So just 2 days removed from the Ryder Cup, there was controversy within the U.S. team. There was 3 big things. The first was Patrick Reed revealed his discontent with his pairing and his being benched. He said that he was miffed not to be paired with Jordan Spieth based on their success at the last Ryder Cup in the U.S. And he also said that, quote unquote, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but quote unquote, it's a mistake to bench someone like me with my success at the Ryder Cup. The second thing is that a non-playing U.S. member of the Ryder Cup team responded to that by saying it's total bullshit that he begged to play with Tiger Woods, and that he was not blindsided at all. He basically, he's full of shit is what the quote was. The third and final thing was that there was reports of a dust-up, no pun intended, between Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka at a Ryder Cup event where the European team was also present. And apparently, according to James Corrigan of The Telegraph, he said there was a clear confrontation that made onlookers very uncomfortable, and the nastiness was evident, and it involved Paulina Gretzky, who is Wayne Gretzky's daughter and Dustin Johnson's wife, and Brooks Koepka's girlfriend, Jenna Sims. So, looks like the U.S. team is doing good subsequent to a loss in the Ryder Cup. So the negatives of a 1-16 playoff seeding in the NBA. And when I say that, I mean that we get rid of the East-West and we just have the best 16 records play each other, which is a very popular thing right now of spectators and commentators to advocate for within the NBA. So I just wanted to explore the negatives of it. So first of all, the thing is, you want to ask outspoken owners who are all for the 1-6. I'm just going to refer to that as 1-16 versus 1-8 on the East, 1-8 on the West. So let's ask those same outspoken owners how they feel when teams are flying coast to coast throughout the whole entire playoffs, right? So this is the thing. If you travel, if the series right now is 2 games here, 2 games there, 1 game there, 1 game there, 1 game there, which is a 2-2, 1-1, 1-1. That's going to affect teams differently based on who they're playing and where they're located. So a team that's playing a team across country that had a 7-game series that's playing a team that played, let's say, just within California or within the West Coast or within the East Coast or within the South is going to have a much better chance at putting a better product on the floor because their guys are going to be less tired. Whatever we say, jet lag is a real thing, switching time zones is a real thing, and that will affect a team's product on the floor. So again, let's just say, for example, that Boston had to play Los Angeles in the first round, and you know, again, this is ridiculous because the Kings will not make the fucking playoffs, but the Kings had to play Golden State in the first round. The Kings or Golden State, whoever wins that series, it would be Golden State. but would have the advantage over whoever won the Boston LA series, because they've just think about the geography of it. You know, the second point to that matter is, you know, again, you can't blame the system that you were a part of. GMs cannot blame the system now that they're on the losing side of it. They're part of the body that put together the playoff structure, all the GMs. You know, not necessarily, but whoever was in ownership before that. I wonder, just, this is a simple point, I wonder how those same outspoken, basically detractors of the 1 through 16, or the 1 through 8 system, East-West, would be if their team suffered through the 1 through 16 system then. They would probably want the old system back. Grass is always greener. You know, the other thing is, I was just saying, what if the Celtics and the Lakers played in an early round? First of all, that would, this is my third point in regards to why it's a negative. That would be bad for basketball. The East-West rivalry is a real thing. I mean, that, as much as anyone hates to say it, as much as anyone complains about, oh, the Cavs met the Warriors every time in the playoffs. I even said that. But it was kind of dope to bring that East-West rivalry back. Like, that was really cool. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. There's no more rivalries within divisions now, or conferences, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I thought that was a big joy to watch. And if you abolish the East-West playoff system, you're basically abolishing the fact that the East and West meet in the finals. You know, the final thing is, obviously, you know, then are we going to get rid... I'm not saying the All-Star game is great fucking basketball, but dude, who doesn't love to see like scores of like 170 versus 165 with fucking, you know, Kevin Durant? Dude, the West is going to be crazy this year. You know, just Kevin Durant catching lobs from Russell Westbrook and fucking LeBron James, and you know, Steph Curry just shooting the lights out, and you know, Anthony Davis getting the MVP in his hometown. You know, it's fucking dope. Like, come on. But look, the thing is, also too, if you change the rules, you have to give GMs and teams a sense of security and that they can set up their team to move forward, right? So if you change the field goal posts or the overtime rules in the NFL, you got to give the GMs, the coaches, and the owners a couple years to adjust before you fully fucking do that. I mean, everyone knows what they had to do going into the season. In the West, you have to beat the Golden State Warriors. In the East, basically, I mean, you're going to have to take out either Boston or Toronto. I mean, most likely. And then, you know, finally, look, another one. The West might be mighty right now. The East used to be mighty. Patrick Ewing is recorded saying when Michael Jordan retired, the first time that he retired, Patrick Ewing literally says, "We finally felt like we could win again." That's one of the best centers of all time, saying that he felt like he couldn't win with Michael Jordan. So it's not like the West has always been the dominant one. It's, you know. Anyway, those are the negatives. Basically, you know, to wrap it up, it's the travel. It's just the East-West rivalry. It's the fact that the East and West have both been good at times. And, you know, it's also the fact of owners who aren't doing well will whine about the system. Personally, I actually believe that the 1 through 8 on the East and West isn't beneficial. I actually believe in the 1 through 16 system, even having researched the negatives of it. So, you know, I did that to be devil's advocate. I think it's more equitable to negate that bullshit of the fucking East versus West. I mean, how are the New Orleans Pelicans in the West? Doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And ultimately, the thing is, we would be getting better basketball matchups if we did 1 through 16 versus 1 through 8 in the East and West, respectively. All right, so guys, on to the last subject. We're going to talk financial stuff.
It's the financial stuff.
So, 5 quick tips to being able to diversify. All right. I got spread the wealth. Considering index or bond funds. That's the second one. Third, you got to keep building. Keep investing. Keep adding to that. Fourth, know when to fold them. Know when to hold them. I said that in the wrong order. It's know when to hold them, know when to fold them. But you get the picture. And then fifth and finally is keep an eye on those commissions. All right, so first, spread the wealth. You don't want to invest all in one sector or one holding. You know, I'm going to put all my money in Apple. Yeah, it might sound sound at the time, and you might be pissed if Apple grows a lot and you had been diversified and you would have made more money within the time. It's not a smart idea. Don't throw all your money in one sector or one stock. You want to create your own, what I would say is like a virtual mutual fund. And what I mean by that is, again, having a bunch of stuff in different stocks and different sectors. Now, what the pure diversification is actually, so let's say you have money in oil futures. Now, what you want to do to diversify from that is have money in Tesla or a green energy company, Solar City, another Elon Musk company. But that diversifies because if the oil industry goes up, then green energy theoretically goes down and vice versa. So what diversifying is actually doing is investing in sectors that are inversely related. So anyway, the thing is, people argue that, I think you should invest in products that you like, you believe in, that you use. People will argue that will make you retail heavy. Be mindful of that. Don't go too retail heavy. However, I think that betting on a company that you know their goods and services are good and they benefit you, and if you're, a sound consumer, a sound investor, I think that's a fun and wholesome way of investing. Second after spread the wealth is consider index funds, bond funds. We talked about ETFs last time, which are index traded funds. They'll trade on indexes based on foreign markets, based on commodities like gold, based on industries like, green energy. Anyway, these are basically investing in securities that track various indexes or various bond markets, and you're instantly getting diversified. We spoke about this last time. An ETF makes you instantly diversified because they're run by huge companies called authorized participants that are heavily regulated by the SEC and the DOJ, and provide you with it's when you buy a stock in an index fund, you're buying a plethora of companies within that industry that authorized participant who's selling that index fund thinks are reliable. So index funds, bond funds, really good way to hedge against risk. By adding some fixed income solutions, you're further hedging your portfolio against market volatility. So the third one is you got to keep building. You got to keep building. You got to add to your investments on a regular basis. Really, you got to keep investing and keep growing your portfolio and keep diversifying. Lump sum investing is a sucker's bet. You want to use dollar cost averaging. So that approach is basically used to smooth out peaks and valleys in terms of market volatility. You invest money on a regular basis into a specified portfolio or a group of stocks. So as your income grows, you're putting that income into a specified portfolio that has either been lined out for you by your financial advisor or you've picked it yourself via companies that you've found have been beneficial for you. Buying and holding and dollar cost averaging are sound strategies, but the thing is, just because you have that on autopilot doesn't mean that you should ignore forces that are at work, right? And by that, I mean that you have to stay current with your investments. You have to remain in tune with overall market effects, what's going on with the industry. So if you have electric vehicle stock, you have to know what's going on in terms of regulations, in terms of electric vehicles. You have to know what's going on in terms of production of charging stations. You have to know, it sounds simple, but it's not, because you really have to stay on top of it, whether it's setting Google alerts, whether it's just monitoring it every day, typing it in. you really should stay on top of that type of current stuff that's important within your investment. And then finally, you got to keep an eye on all your investments, the commission rates. So if you're not the trading type, you have to understand what's going to benefit you in regards to commission structure. Some firms will charge a monthly fee. Some firms will charge a transaction fee. So let's say you're making a shitload of transactions. Maybe you want to pay that monthly fee, and vice versa. Maybe you don't make a lot of transactions and the monthly fee is lower. Pay the monthly fee. You just got to be cognizant and be reasonable and about what you're paying and what your plan is and how your commission structure will affect that plan. And remember, the cheapest choice is not always the best. It's not. It really isn't. Finally, the bottom line for me is I want investing for you guys to be fun, right? It should be fun. Until you take a bath. No, I'm just kidding. But I think investing should be educational. It should be informative. It should be fun. And it should really reflect kind of your principles of what you think are successful companies, industries, commodities within the market. Whether it's using a disciplined approach with diversification, dollar cost averaging, the strategies that I was talking, or whether you're a day trader who just is working with volatility, or you're a short seller, I mean, you should just have fun and do what suits your knowledge best, suits your personality best. That's what I would ultimately recommend. Again, I have to disclose, I am no type of financial advisor. I don't know, in the end of the day, any of this shit, but this is what I recommend via my research and experience. All right, so the final and last subject is Elon Musk stepping down as the chairman of the board of directors at Tesla. So, in a statement or a settlement with the SEC and the Department of Justice of the United States, Elon Musk has to step down as the chairman of the board and pay a $20 million fine. Now, this is in response to a tweet that Musk made about a month and a half ago, or at this point, I think it's more a month and 3 weeks. It's getting close to 2 months, in which he said that Tesla had secured private funding, secured the funding to take Tesla stock from going to be in publicly traded holding on the New York Stock Exchange to a privately held holding. And he secured the funding that would allow people to buy in on the private holding at $420 a share. So basically what happened was Tesla said that his announcement of that high price of the share, I believe Tesla was trading at like 360 at the time. It ended up resulting in a huge increase percentage-wise in Tesla stock on that day. And I believe what the DOJ and the SEC is asserting in this complaint against Elon Musk, which is a settlement. Again, there's nothing public because it's a settlement. Is that he manipulated the price of the stock by releasing information that he shouldn't have. I cannot confirm nor deny that, but anyway, it's interesting. Tesla acknowledged that the DOJ did request documents after the statement was made, and so basically on August 7th, he tweeted that he had secured funding at 420. Now the interesting thing is there was an article that he said it at 420 because he has a girlfriend who must smoke weed and thought it would be funny. I don't know if I believe that. That sounds like a bit of rubbish. I think if that actually had happened, it would be a bigger story. He would have gotten way more caught up, and it wouldn't have just been stepping down. He's also still the CEO, by the way, of Tesla. He's just resigning as the chairman of the board. And he has to pay what to him is a minuscule $20 million. Tesla is also being forced to pay $20 million too. God forbid. But anyway, so when he said that 420 funding is secured, it's going to be 420 a share, it spiked Tesla's stock at 11%, rose it to $387.46. All of those gains and then some have been since erased. And Tesla's stock dropped as much by 7.1% after it was reported that the company was under criminal investigation. So just real quickly, I want to talk about the role of a CEO versus the role of a chairman, just so we can acknowledge that, how his role will change. So a CEO, which is what he still is a company's top decision maker, and they basically serve as the public face of the company, which is a perfect role for Musk. The person posted at this position is responsible for the company's overall performance and commitment to its internal and external shareholders. And by that, internal shareholders are obviously employees within the company, directors. External are cats like you and me who can buy that shit on the open market. So Musk is a hands-on leader. He's really separated himself in that regard, being a CEO. But a CEO dedicates themselves to solely being, the company's daily operations. Again, Musk separates himself. He puts himself on the assembly line, on the manufacturing line, on the mechanical engineering line, and which is unusual for a CEO. A chairman on the opposite end is responsible for the other board members. They're kind of working on, counseling, supervising the company's management team. So they're the manager of the managers. It's basically someone who's not fucking needed. It's okay. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. You need someone to manage the managers. I mean, you need someone to wipe up after someone who wipes up after someone. I don't get that. It sounds like a complete result of overpopulation and the need to create jobs where there are none. Who knows? Anyway, more than half of the chairs of S&P 500 companies also double as their company's chief executives, whether it's chief executive officer, COO, CFO, which is chief financial officer, chief operating officer. But the two roles really, chairman of the board versus CEO, they rely on two different traits. So CEOs thrive on crafting a vision, right? Which is kind of the Musk thing. Bold moves, appointing people, giving orders, assuming responsibility, right? The chairman is more showing restraint, moderating, controlling the managers within the company, the ability to arrive at the conclusions that will appease the shareholders. Ultimately, Musk served as the Tesla board chairman for 14 years. As a result, several shareholders have actually urged Tesla to add independent board directors without ties to Musk as a way to, quote unquote, provide a critical check on possible dysfunctional group dynamics. So there it is, folks. That's OddCast episode 4. Next time, we're going to have my longtime friend, the excellent boxing coach, the relentless human being, the amazing Cody James Warden, Cody James Boxing. We're going to talk UFC 229 in depth. We're going to give you a quick preview on UFC 230. We're going to be talking about boxing. We're going to be talking about the people behind the shadows in fighting. We're going to be talking about the Diaz brothers and families within fighting. And we're also going to break down the rising stars in boxing, which you may not know of. And we're going to talk about the heavyweight division in boxing and why it might be providing a nice comeback for a sport that used to be top 3 in viewership in the United States. So, guys and gals, cheers to you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for listening to, watching the OddCast, where stuff that's odd gets the nod. Thank you all. Have a great night, great day. Whenever you're watching, shouts out to you and yours.
Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast. It's the OddCast.